record, so I just hit record.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's recording on both of ours, so we won't lose it. Okay, so we're on. So I'm all ears.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I would love to talk to you a little bit more about what it is that you did to end your anxiety. I work with clients who have anxiety. I've brought myself out of anxiety. I think it's a big issue right now, especially with the way that the world is and being on lockdown for so long, and just it almost feels like all of the demons kind of came out and now we have to deal with them. And a lot of people are worried about the future. A lot of people are worried about their health. And I know that goes into creating a lot of anxiety that we have to deal with. So I just wanted to kind of get your take on what are some things that we can do right now. And I would love to also hear about what you did to end your anxiety and this weird sweaty palm thing that you overcame and healed yourself of. I think this is a great way to start to get people to understand that we have the power to heal ourselves.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, thanks for doing this and having me with your people, and I'm so happy to share it, because I guess I'll give you a little backstory first of where I was, because it was a crazy, crazy thing. I mean, I remember the first time I was, we had moved from Texas to Wisconsin, and it was summer, and I was sitting on a picnic table in the summer. I was like 8th grade or 9th grade, and I noticed my feet were sweating a lot on the picnic table, and I'm like, that's weird. And that was the first time I noticed it. But then I just started noticing that sometimes for no apparent reason, I didn't feel nervous, but my hands would get really, really sweaty, and my feet. And but then I also had lots of anxiety and severe anxiety. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. I could, like, somebody would be in my space for a moment, like just some big guy. Usually it was a big guy or a powerful guy, or a rich guy later on in life when I was starting businesses and stuff. And in an instant, my whole shirt would just sweat. Like, it's like, oh, my whole shirt is wet. And so everybody knew that Ralph had a problem. and I didn't have a girlfriend till I was like 23, just from pure anxiety. And so my greatest wish was like, I don't even care if the anxiety goes away, just make the sweaty hand thing go away. So I was doing, because it was like crazy. I for some reason I picked a job, physical therapy, where I would have to touch people. And I picked a version of physical therapy, integrated manual therapy, where I would put my hands on people and have to leave them there for periods of time. And if I put them on somebody's face, I was like, I had all sorts of workarounds, and and sit by a window, and I had certain music on, and it was crazy. And so even so, in fact, that's how I started my physical therapy practice. I one of my mentors from Encinitas, California, I lived in San Diego, and he said, hey, Ralph, come work for me. And I was like, great, cool. And he said, yeah, just come to the office and you can work on my neck, and I can check out your hands and check out your hands. I'm like, oh, good Lord. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to just start my own physical therapy practice. So I emailed him back and said, hey, Neil, thanks, but I've decided to start my own physical therapy practice, so I won't be coming by. I did it. I started my own practice out of pure fear. And so there I was, and at least I was the boss, so I could control the temperature in the room, and I could like control the music, and I at least was the boss. But I had these people that would show up, especially guys, and I was so uncomfortable. And I was running 70, 80, 90, 100 miles a week through college, sometimes even up to 130 miles a week, because I loved running and track and all that. But I remember telling my friend Carlos, after college, I was running in San Diego, and I would get up and run 7 miles in the morning. Actually, it turned out to be 6 when somebody finally Garmined it. But and then about 13, 14, 15 miles in the evening with hard workouts. And it was only at the end of a workout like that, that I finally felt like myself, like I was like relaxed. So that was crazy. So there I was in my own physical therapy practice in San Diego, and all of a sudden I got an injury and I couldn't run. So I got this calf spasm, and it's how I thought of myself as a runner, but also it was a way to like burn off a lot of anxiety. And I went to everybody. I had therapists working on me that worked for me. I went to classes. Everybody worked on me. and nothing was helping. 5 minutes and I couldn't run, like spasm. And so after about 8 months, I found a version of therapy, integrated manual therapy. And this woman went in LA, Julie Cicino, and she put her hand on my foot and said, oh, you have a problem with your heart, with your arteries. And so she worked on me for 2 hours with some energetic and light touch techniques that I now know. And my anxiety was like, whoa, I feel good. And usually when I would get treatment from people, like I went to my mentor, Neil, a few times, Neil Sturman, in Sanitas, a lot of shout outs, but he got to the point where he would like put a sheet down. I'd be in the waiting room so freaked out and full of anxiety thinking, wait a minute, I'm paying him. Why am I so anxious? So I'd walk in, he would lay me on the table and the entire sheet would just sweat. Like, I mean, like completely. And so then we would, he'd like, by that time he knew that was my thing and to get rid of. And so we'd take off and put a new sheet. And by the time that happened, then I was like calm and then he would work on me. But when Julie worked on my heart and my lungs, I felt really calm. And I just felt like, I think I can run. So a couple days later, I was in Sacramento taking a class and I went for a run, a 30-minute run along the Sacramento River or whatever it's called, American River. And I could run 30 minutes, no pain, and it never came back. So I started down this road of fixing up what the primary cause. So for my body, I couldn't run because the arteries and heart were spasming to protect, my muscles in my legs were spasming to protect my arteries so I wouldn't die, like heart attack, stroke out, some kind of artery problem. And I just wanted to run and I kept trying to work on my calf and ankle and orthotics, and it's like, no, my body was using that as a way to protect me, to protect my heart. So once we fixed up my heart and my arteries with techniques, then I didn't have to spasm anymore. But what was cool was my anxiety started coming down. So I started down this road of taking lots and lots of classes from these guys. And then that's what I used for I still use that. But along the way, the next thing that happened was my teeth quit having cavities. So I had cavities since I was like 12 and had all sorts of dental problems. I always had a dental bill. And as I got into this work and doing some of the things I want to tell you about, I realized my dental bill had gone away and I'd been like a couple of years without any kind of cavities. And so when I told my dentist about it, he was just like kind of condescending, you'll live a long life, Ralph. And I'm like, dude, don't you want to know what I did? So he didn't. So anyway, so I started to do all these things, and then my anxiety went away and my sweaty hand thing went away. And at first I was really like, I'm not going to tell a soul because I don't want it to come back. And it was so shameful. It really felt like a lot of shame. And if you knew my past, you'd go, oh, well, of course, Ralph, look at how you were raised. But I after a few years, I was like, I got to just tell people, because this went away. I mean, really just went away. And I don't have sweaty hands. I can be with anybody. I'm comfortable. I could have never done something like this back in those days. So I did a bunch of stuff, but the idea, the whole thing was to figure out, my body was doing the best it could do, and it was showing up like anxiety and sweaty hands. The thing was, it was protecting me. And it was protecting me from physical artery, heart things, but also mental, emotional, spiritual stuff. And I know you and I do one of the same things that we use so much every day, both of us. So that I learned that after all this stuff, which is a whole nother story, because I actually realized, oh my God, Eckhart Tolle told me to do this, and I completely missed it back then, like 20 years ago. That's a long version of an even longer story of how it started.
Wow, what a great story. It really is amazing when you listen to your body and you actually take action, but then you find out it's something totally different than what you thought it was. And usually everything is energetically related. And when your energy is misaligned, and this is where my specialty comes in, everything is out of balance. And we don't think about the connection to our heart or our stomach or even our brain, and how if one part of the energy isn't right, that part of your body will just shut down. And when you get in tune and get to the root of what the problem is, and you can release it through some of these techniques that we both use, and some of the techniques that are unique to you and some of the techniques that are unique to me, that the problem can go away and literally never come back.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to spend all this time in therapy reliving those experiences, and you don't have to spend, you know, your whole paycheck on the prescription drugs to make you feel better, and then you take one and then you have to take another one to counteract the side effects of the first one. And just getting to the root of the problem by doing that energetic work in the first place saves you all of this time, all of this pain, all of this heartache. And it's just so wonderful that, you know, you've been through what you've been through and you're so willing to share that experience with the rest of the world. This is what we need, right? We need to understand how our bodies work, how energy works, how to release it, and how to go on living our lives without that pain.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, for me, I think of it like, you know, if you get a cut and it heals, that is a miracle. But if it doesn't heal, there's a real good reason. And it might be 5 different reasons for 5 different people with a cut. One could be it's just dirty and you just got to clean it. One could be you have an infection, you got to get rid of the infection. Another one could be you have diabetes and your blood sugar is out of control and you got to get that fixed up. But once it heals, there's no reason for your body to unheal it. And so, yeah, I used to do so much stuff to try to just calm down. And I did some crazy things where I put my hands in these little water pad electrical things, and I would literally electrocute my hands for 20 minutes for like a few days in a row, and then it would numb out all my things or whatever, and I didn't sweat in my hands. And so that went on for quite a while, but it's like it was just workarounds, you know? And so it's nice to not have to do a workaround. And I know you do stuff, we do, yeah, some of the stuff you do is some of the stuff I do. And it's just nice to like solve it instead of working around.
Right? Yeah, to have everything, you know, you just get to the root of the problem and just get rid of it. Bam. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so much better than having a Band-Aid over it for 10 years?
Yeah. And then there was other things that I found along the way. And I can tell you about them because it's like, for different people, it can be different things, whether you're dealing with anxiety or like you work a lot with people with depression too. It's such an interesting thing. So, because I can tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
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 Part of what I found too was there was physical things that I found that when I shifted them, it made a big difference. One of the big ones for us was a nutrition thing, was going gluten-free, which is so interesting. So I want to just put that out there because and reach out to me and Kate, because that's a thing that it can make a giant difference. I've had clients that call me up and say, Ralph, I got some gluten, and they know because their anxiety came roaring back. So there's a bunch of other stuff in the environment, and we don't want to be victims to the environment. But man, if something is like easy to fix, it's nice to like let your body have a rest from something that's causing a problem.
Yeah, and it's so true. You are what you eat, right? And what you put in your body, you're either helping it or you're hindering it. And you know, there's certain things that, you know, are known to promote inflammation and dis-ease. When you eliminate those from your diet, it's almost like your energy instantly expands. I'm actually going through that after I had my Reiki 2 training. My whole body completely changed and started rejecting foods that it knew was not good for me. And, you know, I'm starting to crave like greens and certain grains and certain things that, you know, I haven't been eating, and I've been feeling bad, and no wonder, because my diet was not, you know, in alignment with where I needed to be to get my energy up and clear and feeling good. So there really is such a connection about being conscious, not only about what you think, you say, you believe, you do, you feel, but about what you eat, how you eat, when you eat. So there's all of these different components that go into not only being healthy, but also staying anxiety-free, depression-free. And diet is making that change makes such a world of difference.
It really does. I guess if you are what you eat, I used to be M&Ms and Coca-Cola and nachos.
Mm-hmm.
but
I hear that. I used to drink Diet Coke and smoke cigarettes
oh my
and eat,
God.
Doritos. And,
Wow.
I haven't smoked a cigarette in what, gosh, like almost, 20 years.
Wow.
And being able to change my diet around, I don't even really drink soda, just occasionally like a nice ginger ale. But once I got rid of that, I was drinking like 2, 3 Diet Cokes a day.
Wow.
Once I got rid of that, I was like, whoa, I feel so good. My body was just functioning better. And I was like, just eliminating that one thing, it made the world of difference.
Yeah. And
And
it's so funny. It's like it becomes second nature to us, but we didn't get there in one big jump. It was like step by step. But when you look at, like when I look at some of my clients, I'm like, oh my God, they just don't know. There's so many things that they're doing that they think they're living a normal American life. It's like, oh, it's like change this thing. But the funny thing is, then sometimes you get a like, no, I can't change that. It's like, oh, let's figure out what that's about.
right, right. Yeah, our body craves things for a reason.
Yeah.
And usually it's an emotional or energetic reason, and our bodies do get addicted to certain foods and all certain chemicals. That's one thing about anxiety and depression. Your body produces these chemicals, these hormones and these genes, and you just get addicted to feeling that way. And so you need to feel that way, and you start identifying with, oh, I'm an anxious person, or oh, I have depression. And then you just embody that. And so then in turn, your body produces more of it to keep you in that state. And it's very, very difficult for some people to get out of that addiction. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have any insight or anything that you did, or if you experienced that feeling of being addicted to your anxiety.
Yeah, it would have been weird to tell me I was addicted to it back then, although probably part of me would have known it was true. But but yeah, there was a process, and for me, and it came big time around to a real simple thing that you and I both use, that one process. Um, but along the way with the integrated manual therapy, there was a way to clear the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff. So there was training to see, oh, what's primary? Like, is this a physical heart problem or artery problem, or is it a mental problem, or is it an emotional problem, or is it a spiritual problem? But not in a like just kind of making it up in your head kind of way. But there's ways to tell by checking in with the body and seeing where it is, like what part of the body it's in, and what is it. And it was funny. It's like I didn't do the sessions all those years and get all that training with the idea that I'm going to cure anxiety. It was I had such a good effect with the running thing, and then the teeth, that it was like, okay, I'm on it, man. I'm going to just keep getting healthier and healthier. And then the anxiety just went away. So it was not like I tried to get rid of anxiety. It was that it was like, yippee, this can go away. And so some of the stuff I learned of three things, and I can give you links because one of my teachers gave one of the parts of one of the book, Reflection Therapy, to me, and it to us that I can share. But there was a way to look at images and then think certain thoughts, like I am not responsible for my reaction to a certain person or a certain kind of event. And then you look at an image, and then you go inside and you just kind of hang out and you do this. And I remember I did it with one of my friends that used to always talk about himself. And so it just bugged the crap out of me, but I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have a girlfriend. We'd go to Indian food every Friday night, and we ran a lot together. But it just bugs the crap out of me. So I did it like, I'm not responsible for reaction to, and I named his name, and I looked at this little image, and then I did that for a couple of weeks. And I was like, wow, it's not, I had to actually look at him like, are you still doing it? And he was still talking about himself, but it wasn't charging me anymore. So there's this reflection therapy that I can give you a link. And then there's something else in that model that I did a lot of, and I still do some of it's called neurofascial process, which is basically a way to put your hand on one part of your body and your hand on another part of your body. And it's like an acupressure thing, but you don't have to press hard or anything. But the place for rage is right here, right at the bridge of the nose. And so what people can do is put one hand on the bridge of their nose. And if you want, you can cover your eyes and forehead too. That gets like 3 different process centers, but you actually 5 or 6 different process centers. But you can put this is the rage one, and then the other hand can go on the heart, if you want, which is about healing and letting go of, you know, the hate, self-hatred, and connecting to love. You can put it on the low back where the ureters are. The ureters are about drainage, so it's about draining it, letting it go. You can put it on the forearm, which is about beliefs, like letting go of belief systems. The upper arm, which is about control issues. So I would do a lot of this, like watch TV and hang out like this, and watch TV and hang out like this, and go to sleep at night, and I would touch upper arm, forearm, and lay on my side, and so I did a lot of drainage of stuff. And you know, when we were getting on this call, there was lots of like, oh man, let's get all these things in place. And one of the things when I was taking that integrated manual therapy training, I took 110 classes over 10 years, and I would go to her different clinics around the country, and I would work for her for 3 or 4 days in a row just for the training, you know, and just it was just awesome. But it was really stressful because you had people from all over the world coming and paying a lot of money, and then you were the therapist, and Sharon Giammatteo was the main person. She's the late Sharon Giammatteo, but there'd be like 20 therapists in a room, like in San Francisco, and we'd all have our clients, and they were coming for 7 hours a day to solve really complex medical conditions. I mean, I saw miracles that were beyond belief. And so we were doing techniques, but she was clairvoyant, and she was right there, and she could see if you're doing it right or wrong. And we would meet before this, when all these clients were coming in, and she would say, okay, here's what we're up to. And then at lunch, there was an in-service. So we would have food brought to us, and we'd be listening while we're eating and training up. And then it'd be like 1 minute past the hour, and it's like, okay, let's go. So boom, now we're back with all the clients. And it was so stressful, and it was all new stuff. And so I was never comfortable. So as a result, I had to do a lot of this to like let go of all this rage and survival stuff to connect to ecstasy. And so this is a really cool technique. There's a little book called Body Wisdom by Sharon Giammatteo that goes through a bunch of places that you can touch for different healing things. And then another book, Reflection Therapy by Sharon Giammatteo, that has the visuals that you can do. Since then, I've gone through many different things, all sorts of mind body, like how to go change the past in your imagination. But really, what I love now is our peace process, our letting go process, the surrender process, you know, that our coaches have taught us. It's so much more direct without all this rigmarole, yet I still use all these techniques from time to time. Like there's actual positions that you can use to release the physical tension in the heart and in the lungs and the liver. And it takes the strain off of the nervous system, which is that sympathetic nervous system. So it's what that one therapist used the very first day. And so my whole nervous system was like, oh, thank you. Because it was all turned up. And so, so there's a lot of things, but yeah, the reflection therapy and the, it's called, well, Body Wisdom would be the book. There's ways to touch it, and I can give you links to some stuff, because I have some free stuff with that, but you can go get the information where I started to first learn it.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know, I've never actually even heard of reflection therapy before. It's, you know, well, maybe it's something different that I've done, where it's something similar, but I love this idea, because there's so much, there's so much connection that I think we as humans are missing because it hasn't been taught. And we've been programmed to be disconnected from ourselves. Mm-hmm. And really the true way to heal is to get control of your mind, your feelings, your body, your actions, and then also being in touch with that ability and that wisdom, that inner wisdom that you just have, that your body has, that it can just heal itself because it's its own intelligence. That is pretty much, and then being able to tap into that in a different way.
Yeah, it's an inner wisdom. And so that wisdom is already running in our bodies, is what I have experienced and seen now, and kind of what I thought was true. And then with some of my teachers, I found that there's a way to, it's like Wi-Fi in our bodies. all of the information is there. And if somebody knows how to look, they can go, oh, well, it's this here. It's not physical in your case. It's this thing. So it's like the information. It's like we can see it. And in some people, you can see it really readily. Like, oh my God, that person's so anxious. But it's like, hey, he definitely didn't have a good mom, whatever. But there's a way to read it. Kind of like a good wine connoisseur can go, somebody else would go, oh yeah, I think this is a red wine. And somebody that's trained would go, oh, this is this part of France and it was this year. It's like just more, this information is there, but some people have more access. And it's from training, and some people are just like, it's just naturally clairvoyant, but there's a way to tap into your own wisdom.
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to self-heal and having, people like us who have done it and who have learned a lot of these techniques and being able to pass them on to other people.
Oh,
I think it's one of the greatest gifts that we can give. And even just by, educating people about the electromagnetic fields that they have in their own hands and the importance of being able to tap into that and the ability to use that, even just the hands on the heart. I mean, there's a reason why we put our hand to our head like this when we have a headache or when we're stressed out. And that electromagnetic field that comes from your hand actually is sending information into your head to calm down. And that's why usually, you feel better. You rub, if you get hurt, you rub it a little bit. Again, it's all about this activating that inner wisdom, and without even knowing it. So when you have people who can guide you and coach like we can, we really have that ability to help people help themselves in a way that they didn't even know was possible. So I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we as coaches and healers can give. Do you have any other tips for, saying if you're in a situation that makes you super, super anxious, like right in the moment, other than taking a couple of deep breaths, what would be something that you would recommend or something that you have done to sort of bring that anxiety down a little bit?
Yeah, so one is the thing that we both use where you, even if you're going to be in a situation like that, to once you're kind of like activated, to go inside your body and just sit with it, sit with the feeling. We both use that. And It's so simple, but I think that's why most people don't do it, because you want to do something important. And so to sit with it, but not just sit with it for a little bit, but to sit with it till it's done being sat with. So that's one. When you're in the middle of it, you can try to feel the feeling at the moment, like, oh, I got a crazy one. So that process, it's been called many things, but sitting inside and being still and noticing what you're noticing in your body is so key. But it can be really hard. But one thing I can say is you could turn any obstacle like that into your healing. So you start to do this a little bit where you feel what's happening in your body in the moment that it's happening, and you'll get a win. It'll be like, wow, that went better than I thought. And you'll start to realize it. And of course, with you and me guiding somebody, it's so important, I feel, because it is just super easy to miss it and just to like pass it over to like, yeah, I'll do that a little bit, but nope, I'm going to freak out. It's like, it's important to get some wins, some real wins on it. But yeah, whatever people think, this will be a good one. You want me to take you through a little process, just real quick?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
So back when, and if anybody wants any more information on this, this is kind of crazy, but I'm going to go here. Just reach out to me, because I've been reading a lot of research over the last few years about these issues, and especially since March of these issues. So I had some socks to return to REI. My wife had bought me some really cool socks, but she bought me the wrong size. And so I thought I could just, it was when the lockdown was still been going on, but it was on. And so, I could just like return them and then get them back in a few while. But we live like less than a mile to REI. So I thought, I'm going to go. But in case this is crazy, I'm going to just say it. So I don't have a mask. I don't own a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. And the reason is because I feel like for one, it's super unhealthy. When I've read the science, it's so unhealthy for people, and it doesn't help a thing. But that's a whole other story. If anybody wants that information, they can contact me. But I also didn't want to go the next step of then you have to go into a store. You need a vaccine card that says you have every vaccine they want you to take. So I decided to draw the line there because I don't want my babies injected with vaccines. And that could push a lot of buttons. So that's great because you're either pro-vaccine, pro-mask mandates and all that, or not, or you're somewhere in the middle. But it's such a charged issue. So we got everybody charged up now. Like, Ralph, don't do that. You're making people safer. Thank God there's somebody standing for medical freedom. So wherever you are, I've got something for you. So there I was with some socks. And I went to REI and there's a lineup and they're giving you the speech about like, yeah, why we have to wear a mask and here's your mask. And it was still at the time when you could do this. I said, thank you very much. I'm just walk in. So I walked in and I was the only person in REI without a mask. And everybody's there with masks looking like they're freaked out. And or at least I thought they looked like they were freaked out. And I'm standing in line. There's a long line to do the return. And I was shaking like a leaf. I was like, I guess my anxiety was back. I was shaking. I was using my, some of the techniques that I use, like shaky, 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 shaky. There's a technique to like say it and then it's less shaky. I was still shaky. And people are around me looking like I'm going to kill them. And so there I am standing there and I thought, awesome, don't waste this opportunity because it is charged up. So somebody else might walk in like that and have no charge. You know, if a year before I had walked into a store and didn't know about all this stuff, I'd be like, wow, that's weird. Everybody's wearing a mask. It's strange. But it wouldn't have charged me up. But because I knew all these fears and things were going on, I was really charged. So I thought, don't waste this, Ralph. So there I was for about 15 minutes going through the line, 6 feet apart, walking up to the guy behind this big plexiglass thing, looking, you know, he says, move over, sir, because I was like towards the edge of the plexiglass. So make sure you're away from this edge that air might kill me. And I was shaking. So what I did, and here's what I recommend when you're in the moment, is to use that charge, that problem, that disaster. Don't waste it. Go feel it. Go feel it. Go feel it. And there's a guy, if you haven't read Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, it's a great book. But he was in Mexico camping, just meditating, doing this process. He didn't call it that, but he called it the surrender process. And he was sitting there meditating, and he had heard about banditos. This was back in the 70s. And all of a sudden he heard horses with their little horse sounds, and you could, riders on the horses were talking in Spanish, and he had his eyes closed doing his yoga pose and this process of going inside and feeling it. And he thought, well, I might die. I guess this is true. And he said, oh, I don't want to waste this opportunity. So there they were, breathing horses and these Mexican guys talking, and he doesn't speak Spanish. And he just went in and felt his body during the freak out. And he felt it and felt it and felt it for time and time and time. And then it was like, that was done. And he didn't have the freak out feeling anymore. He actually went to completion, I think. And he came up and looked at them, and they were migrant kind of workers, and they invited him for food, and they became friends. But so what I recommend is kind of like when I was in REI, whenever you're in a situation that pushes every single button, don't waste it. Like just go in and to the best of your ability, just stay aware of the physical sensations. And you know that technique as well as I do. That is the shortcut.
Wow, that's really incredible. You know, there's something to be said about being in the moment and how there really is peace in the present. And you know, when you're living in the past, you're living in depression. When you're living in the future, you're living in anxiety. And what a great way to just dissolve everything is just being present with what you're feeling and just allowing yourself to feel it. I know that I did not do that for a very long time, and things, you know, everything gets bottled up, and eventually, like a soda, you know, you shake it up enough, it's going to explode.
Yeah.
And so by just dealing with what you're feeling, deal with what you feel in the moment, you eliminate that entire potential problem. So thank you so much for sharing that story. That brings a lot of light to what you can accomplish in a very short amount of time. And also, again, looking at the situation as something not to waste. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of times we're so focused on what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. You know, we're never fully in the moment. And, you know, we're only given so many moments here on this planet. So being able to take the ones that aren't so great and really bring them in and transmute them to something that can be useful. That's such a great addition to the joy that we can have in our lives.
Yeah, we're both really fortunate and blessed, lucky to have found this in a really profound, like, really do it kind of way, instead of just like, oh yeah, that's a nice idea, I'll do it for about 5 seconds.
Right. There's so much that I've been able to release. This is some of these processes that we've been talking about today are how I brought myself out of suicidal depression. And so there's really something to be said about being able to sit with those uncomfortable feelings and allow them, no matter what it means on the outside. You know, there's been times I've been squirming in my chair. It's been so uncomfortable. But as you know, as people say, I would rather go through the temporary discomfort now to have permanent peace in the future. And, you know, again, as they say, the only X factor is time. So some of these things, you know, you can release, you know, like that. Other things might take, you know, a few months, even a few years. But man, is it worth it?
Yeah.
You know, because those problems will never come back, ever.
And that's what we have that I think a lot of healers and coaches don't have. I mean, it's so funny. I was given the Power of Now book back years and years and years ago by one of my therapists, Danielle, and I read it and I was so pissed off because I realized I was never in the now. And so I just put it away. And after all this stuff with the training that you and I have done, I thought I'm going to go back and look at the Power of Now. And in the introduction was that process you just described. And it said, yeah, it's remarkable how effective this thing is. And then he went to talk about all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, it was right there. I just missed it.
Isn't that so funny? The information is always right in front of our face. You know, I read that book. I think I'm on my 5th read through, because there's always something new to get from that book. And that was one of the most profound books that really helped to change my life. And after I read A Course in Miracles, I went back and I reread The Power of Now, and I was like, whoa, this makes so much more sense. And it's so simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
But the concept itself, just to bring yourself back to the present moment and just anchor in, I mean, it makes your life do a complete 180.
It really
and
does.
Again, it's just that simple of being present.
Isn't that wild? Yet it's like there's all sorts of stuff in the physical world. Like one of the things I'm still playing with, working with, is like David R. Hawkins talks about, like, well, when you're far enough along in this process, and you're like enlightened, you know, he was definitely enlightened reading that book. He says you're not affected by things like EMFs, toxins, pesticides, and I'm like, well, I'm not there yet, but and I'm actually not that invested in whether or not I get to that point, because I've seen so many miracles just taking the right toxin out of somebody's world. But I am kind of interested in that kind of idea, because I have people tell me, well, I don't want to do this. Can't you just like do some magic and I don't have to go off of gluten, or I don't have to have my cell phone plugged onto I can keep my cell phone plugged into my ear. So I don't know. I'm still working on stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, it really is a lifelong journey. And, you know, the more you know, the more you know. And there's, you know, the information that you learn about these things, you can't unlearn. And you're forever changed when you have these techniques and when you really understand the ins and outs, if you will, of some of this energy work, and even going as far as to understand quantum physics and microbiology and things like that, how it all just comes together. And you just pick and choose what resonates and works for you, and you become that miracle. You just see all of these things showing up in your life, and you wake up another day and you feel like a completely different person sometimes. And all I do is I just continually just give thanks for all of the information that just keeps coming in and being presented to me. so that I can work to get my energy a little higher every single day, work to clear out things a little bit more every single day, knowing that it's a process, knowing that it's a journey, knowing that, yes, I still have a long way to go, but where I am today, I can look back and say, wow, I have come so far. And I
Yeah,
think that's one of the things that keeps people on track, is being able to look back even just to yesterday,
it's so
saying,
true.
I have this one new piece of knowledge. Let me put it to use today. Looking back the next day, wow, what a difference it made in my life.
Yeah, it's so easy to lose track. Like right now, the idea of anxiety and sweaty hands, it totally feels like that was somebody else's life. But we forget sometimes. Yeah, and it's like one thing that I found so cool is um, you and I can help people that haven't gotten to where we are. But when they get to where we are, we'll be at the next level, and they'll find their next level. And so it's like it's such a cool world. The healers and coaches and the entrepreneurs doing good stuff for people, because one thing that I've noticed is everybody's got these fears and anxieties, and we all have these certain ways of gifts that we've done to fix ourselves up and to get farther down the road. And but it can be fearful or full of anxiety to bring it to the marketplace, because now you're giving it to somebody and saying, hey, that imposter syndrome can show up. So it's always a learning thing for all of us.
Yeah. And I think it's so great too that with the community building that a lot of us are doing, that we have such a wide range of people who we work with, and they all have their own special talents and gifts and knowledge that they share. So it's like, no matter who you work with, you're going to learn something. And, the more, I always say, the more people that you can work with, the better off you are. I'm a professional tap dancer. I teach all the time. And I always told my students, I'm like, don't have me be your only teacher. Go out and take classes with as many people as you can, because you're going to learn how to do something a different way that might work a little bit better than the way I do it. And so I think that if we continue to empower people to take the first step, and then take the opportunities, go where you're guided, and just open yourself up to learning and receiving and being available for all of the different people who can come to you, all the different knowledge that can come to you in whatever way that it's meant. I think that's one of the first things that we can do to help others get out of their anxiety, get out of their depression, and live a life knowing that they can be free of what holds them back.
And then there's the next step, and there's always a teacher. Like that's one thing I've learned is like, I'm going to always have healers and coaches helping me out. It's like,
Yeah.
I've had people that say, well, I just want to get to this, and then I'm done with all that, and I just get to live my life. It's like, that's kind of cool, except it doesn't seem to work that way.
Right. It's always a learning process. And yeah, it's, again, I'm going to have my coaches and my healers with me for forever, until I'm 125 and decide to leave.
That's funny. I say 126. So, but I'll be okay with whatever it happens, I guess.
Right. Well, Ralph, this has been an amazing conversation. I can't thank you enough for your time today. I think we have some really, really great things that we can offer. I would love for you to talk a little bit about the link we're going to post, and what you have to offer from your side about ending anxiety forever.
Great. Yeah. And I love this. I saw you on some of the coaching sessions, and I was like, oh man, that'd be cool, ending depression and all sorts of healing. And so I would love to have you on my Facebook, and hopefully we'll have Facebook working that time, but YouTube, Facebook, and do more talking, because we can help a lot of people with this, with what you and I do. So so what I did was I wrote down my stuff, everything. I went back and looked at, okay, how did I get healthy? And basically I put it into a format. And so now it's a book, an ebook, a framework, a guide. And I put a video and some PDFs and all sorts of links of not all the stuff I use, but a lot of the stuff. That last process that Kate and I talk about, there's links to how to access that kind of way of thinking too. But I put it all in one place, and you can get that framework for free. And if you want more hand-holding, more stuff to get yourself healthy, it'll kind of guide you to places to look for that. And that's at my name, ralphhavens.com /end anxiety. Ralph, so www.ralphhavens.com /end anxiety. And I'll make sure if it's in the, well, anyway, yeah, it's, we could put it, let me put it in the chat. But
yeah, we'll put some links under the videos and
yeah,
things like that, so people know where to find us and where they can get your book, because I think it's really a great first step. You know, I always tell people your first step is find the information. You know, do a little search, find some information, and then go from there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff in there, but if you just start to chip away and do some of it that's in the book, you can get some big wins. And if you need any more help, then just let me and Kate know, because yeah, I love your work and I love your message. We're on two different versions of the same thing, anxiety and depression, and just helping people get happy again. So I actually use the thing that you recommended. My free session is Love Your Life Again. I was going through all of them, and I was telling my wife, and I said that one, and she goes, "Oh, I like that one." And so that's the one we use.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No.
Yeah, you know, I think again, the more that we can just get the message out and just let people know, like, hey, if we can do it, you can do it too.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're here to help. We're here to support, because again, nobody needs to live a life of pain. You know, you don't need to suffer. There's no reason that you can't have a joyous life day after day after day after day after day.
That is
so that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing that, you know, you and I can help to bring people. And I think it's really important that we let people know that that is an absolute possibility.
Yeah, it's a definite. We just, like you said, the X factor is we just don't know how long it takes. But the cool thing is what we do, you and I both, is that each step there's wins. So yeah, I'm so excited to know you, and thank you for doing this. And I definitely want you on my thing too. Yeah, if you want the framework, ralphhavens.com /end anxiety. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Kate. Such a good.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. This is the first of probably many.
I hope so. Yeah, I think we could have a real series of stuff and help people out.
Absolutely. I think this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Okay, I'm gonna click end here, and then I'm gonna I'll message you in just a second.